Comcast, damn you! Curse you, Comcast! Ah! Alright, sorry about that, guys and gals. Comcast just loves to make me hate them. Oh, why you do this, Comcast? Why? I don't know. They're pure evil. Hopefully my new apartment will have a better connection. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, to some degree, you want to think about your antagonist, even in horror stories. You want to think about your antagonist's motivation as much as your heroes. So why does it go from scratching to banging on the door, and then why doesn't it just open? Or why doesn't it just use the handle and open the door? It didn't sound locked. Yeah, I know. Very sad. I think Comcast is pure evil. I do. The ultimate evil. I'm tempted to. I'm tempted to get fiber and just leave them forever. Anyway. But yeah, the bathroom wasn't locked. So apparently it could open doors, but was the bathroom unlocked? Did he lock the bathroom after he left? That doesn't make sense. Oh, I'm so tired, but I can't sleep. Oh, Grover, that's the worst. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know how that feels. I definitely get my fair share of insomnia every now and then. Well, hopefully a nice edit will relax you a little bit. You know, this isn't a fast-paced gaming stream or anything, so we'll keep it cool, keep it chill. But I am sorry. I know how much of a pain in the butt that is to have insomnia. I mean, it's the worst. Hang in there. We'll talk some shop here anyways. But yeah, even in horror stories, you need those antagonist motivations and capabilities to be clear. If you're bending the rules of your world by saying, hey, this antagonist can scratch on doors, but he can't open them, but then the protagonist locks the door and that's going to keep them in, you know, we need a little bit more clarification on what the rules of this world are. It wasn't a risk, okay. His lips moved to say something, but they never did. His face displayed several emotions, once sadness, joy, and anxiety, but above all confusion. His eyes were like black beads. Yeah, so Chris, it's like the way you describe his eyes, I would just rethink that. It feels like we're seeing someone seeing like just completely deleting their mind and going zombie mode versus someone being surprised and elated. And I think you're going for the latter. So just rethink your word choice there. I'll go if I'm bothering you. I really just. You can't be. I saw you. I saw it happen. I saw it. If it's not there, it was a 1,000-yard stare. I saw it. This feels a little bit of a funny moment. Yeah, it's like the most chill stream ever. Confirmed. His friend is actually Ditto from Pokemon Go in disguise. I wish I had a pet pal Ditto. This action seems a bit on the nose. We, the reader, are getting information, and it doesn't feel cleanly masked by the drama. So I sense that you're trying to communicate to me, the reader, that, hey, this guy is shocked that he's seeing his dead friend alive, because I know that that's what you told me that the setup was in your notes. Problem is, he's very, very on the nose about it. He's not saying anything unexpected. So he's saying everything I would expect someone to say in this situation, which is a little bit of a risk. Oh, the joke. Okay, I get you. I get you. The little ditto eyes. That makes sense. That makes sense. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Um, yeah. So I think the thing you want to do here is to say, okay, what would Chris's reaction be? Like, we'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're here? You're alive?" Like, maybe he's a total bro. He's like, "Well, I thought you were dead, man. Let's go drink." Like, who knows? Like, that's a bad example, but maybe he goes and just like pours himself a whiskey. Like, the guy just saw a ghost. Like, him being like, "I saw it happen. I saw your death." Like, that feels a little bit um heavily expository. It's like you're signaling the reader. You just need to trust trust the reader that by the time I get here, I'm already kind of tracking that, okay, he's actually probably dead or something happened to him. So it's a little bit over signaled, the reader gets something weird is going on before this might not need to overstate the situation. And just move on. Like, I would just move from this shock to he jolted backwards, and you could still hear him through the door dreaming. I must be dreaming. Okay. So also, this interiority whatever, and keep it short because you don't have to recap the scene. Like, we already saw what happened between Chris and the main character. So whenever you completely, almost identically recap what just happened, it runs a little bit. It's a little bit unnecessary. So you can just trim and get to the action here. How am I doing on pages 4? Okay. I know chose for to turn back and hope it wasn't serious blow to our relationship. I kicked the wall and let out some pent up frustration. As you not follow up, we know that. Okay. It was a horrible night. Okay, unable to just help. I went down the street quickly. So he's outside, wandering around. I think I might have to locate a public phone, rare as they were these days. And also, whenever we jump into a new, oops, there we go. Whenever we jump into a new scene, take a sentence or two and describe what it's like. You know, uh, oily, Yeah, so like give us some of these concrete details. This is a bad example. I mean, that's obviously just something I just came up with on the spot. But give us some of these, just like in a screenplay. Give us a sentence or two and set the scene. Even if it's a small scene, if it's a more important scene, obviously spend more time giving us a little moment to say, okay, this is what's going on, this is what it looks like. Because we need these details. We don't know. Are we in a city? Are we in suburbia? You know, details are important because we don't know. Thanks for the follow. Or the city, or if it's fall or winter. So we, the reader, need enough. We don't need everything, but we need enough to start like filling in the scene. And that's why you need to give us these things. It's just a hint to say, okay, it's winter, it's cold, and it's suburbia. And then we do the rest. We have like the picket lawns, the deciduous trees, all the leaves falling down, snow. Like, boom, we'll do the rest. You just need to give us some of those concrete details that'll let us fill in the rest of the scene. Chomp Chomp, welcome, welcome. How you doing? You're a writer, storyteller. Just a fan of following random late night channels, which are totally cool. I said about the darkness, the only light in view. They are fluorescent rivers, convenience store. My gaze lingered them for a few moments. Okay, you kind of do give some of that. Okay. They stood out. What was they? Okay. It's my last bite. It's kind of depressing, but also cool. Well, welcome, Chomp Chomp. You are always welcome. It's nice to have new folks stop by. Do you do any writing or creative things? Any fun things like that? Put my ice cream up. Yes, indeed. Well, always welcome. Always welcome to hang out. We have a pretty low key vibe. I do some writing since high school. Yada yada yada. Nice, nice. That's awesome. Are you? Yeah. Well, this is a writing and editing stream, so pretty much a lot of our viewers will send in work, send in their stories, and we'll take a look at them and give feedback and thoughts. So I do a lot of editing and do a lot of writing. So there's lots of opportunities to talk shop, and I always enjoy talking about the fun, creative things that are out there. So you do live edits for other people's work or your own? Today is other people's work. I have edited my own work on my stream because I feel like it's fair, because if someone has put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their work and then I chop it up, then I feel kind of bad without putting my own self on the chopping block. So I've done both. I've edited my own work and other people's work, and I've even written. I actually write probably most on this stream right now because I'm trying to. I have a novel due in a couple of weeks, about a month or two. So I got to get some ground covered, as they say. Was I asked in a raised tone? Finding teenage girl, likely a new temp, busy texting away on her phone. Yeah. As I entered, she asked in a raised tone, but not quite a shout, "Hey, what are you doing?" It was dead skin. Okay, so a line mostly straight, right across my neck, was black as death. It was dead skin. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah. Agree with Lee. Let's slow down and really describe this. We take a few minutes to give us a play-by-play. Like just above the hem of my shirt. Skin gone all black. I leaned closer to the frozen section, straining my neck to see it clearer. You know, dark circle. Looped around my neck. It wasn't a chain or a tattoo. It was my skin. My skin was dead. You know, whatever. Like, that's a bad example, but that's bold, man. You're brave. Thanks, Chomp Chomp. Well, it's a lot of fun. I feel like if people are going to share their work with me, well, I should try to do the same to them. It's been long since I've tuned into your stream. Welcome, Bologna. You look brolic. Brolic is F. What does brolic mean? I don't even know. I hope that's a good thing. Well, anyways, beefy. It's good. Ripped. Brolic. Man, I gotta catch up on all my lingo. My poor brolic. Ripped, ribbed, beefy. Well, you can't write all day, you know. You gotta exercise. I feel like that's actually one of the reasons I exercise a lot, is because as a writer, it definitely is good for your brain. It makes you more creative. Your body and your brain are very, very closely connected. I mean, they are made of the same stuff, quite literally. So the quality of your thoughts, I feel like, improves the better one takes care of their body. So that's one of the reasons that broholic. Burholic. So you're at the alcoholic type. Not too much. I don't hit the sauce as much as some. I'll have my fair share of whiskey every now and then, but no. Consider removing the bold here. This feels like telling the reader that this line is important when we already see this. Charles Bukowski! He said it. He did it. I did a thing. I'm so proud. Okay, so yeah. Consider removing the bold here. This feels like telling the reader that this line is important rather when we already see this from the context. Trust the reader to know without having to lay it on too thick. Slouching leads to back problems. Be careful. It's true. Should I pull it up here? Oh, you're right. I'll lean back. I'll get forward. I would not want to get in a fight with you. Well, as long as your prose is well-trimmed prose and all the yeah, well, make sure that all your edits all your writing is in perfect order, and all your edits are clean. Well, that's good. It's just train wrecks. It's true. It's true. It's all my Lebanese heritage. Just my whole side of the family is good at frowning. Good at frowning. I moved along the row of glass to confirm this was no some mere trick of the light. It wasn't. My fingers confirmed it. This is what Chris saw. My uninvited. Is this something my uninvited guest did to me in my sleep? Okay, good. So one, I like that you're using questions in interiority. This is the first time I think that I've really clearly seen you use questions in interiority, which is awesome. Oh, goodness. I lost my place, though. Less awesome. Less awesome. Where did I go? Oh, no. Okay, yeah. So these are really, really powerful. I think you can leverage this more. Great job. Yeah, so I think that's a really great technique you're using. So this is one of the ones that's working. So I would just consider bringing those questions in interiority more throughout your work. It's gonna embark your ass. Yeah. How's it going, Pow Chow? Welcome, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, make sure all your edits are perfect. Gosh darn it. Okay, so I was brought back to my senses when a girl tapped my shoulder, turned it with my drug-fueled stupor. Odd description there. I would check your word choice. I felt like a long shot. The cops actually showing up, but there was no crime in hoping. The night had put me through so much. I was well overdue something, and it did. Before long, the flashing lights greased the parking officer. 10:23, approach the caller now. So we already get. So this is another thing that you see pretty commonly. This is a bit of verbal doubling. We already know from the above paragraph, we know he'll be excited to see the cops show up. So giving us the interior thoughts again is extra slash necessary. Spend this time describing the scene and the action more. One of the things I'm finding with your writing a little bit is you are spending a lot of time in this character's head. And run-on sentence, comment. Necessary. No, it's not a run-on sentence. There's a comma for the so. This final boss gonna have to come find you. Just kidding. But yeah, so I'm finding that your writing is trending towards the interior. So we're reporting a lot on what this hero is thinking. A lot. Like we're getting so many of his thoughts, and then the situation and the action is very like lean. It's like one-line descriptions of the action. So the things I would think about in terms of when you go to your next revision is, okay, how do I reduce? So the interiority is good, it is working, but you probably don't need as much as you have. How do I reduce some of the interiority and then expand out the action. Give me a little more play-by-play, or spend an extra sentence on describing something, like that black line around his neck, which is a really critical thing, is really just kind of one paragraph or one sentence even. Yeah, because we don't even get to see it. I strolled to the glass doors of the frozen section. We still haven't seen the revelation yet. And what I saw baffled me. A line, mostly straight, ran around my neck, forming a rigid circle. It was black as death. It looked and felt like dead skin. It was dead skin. So yeah, that's good, but like, have him open the door. Show him, looking closer. Like, and I kind of did that in my little comment here. But rather than reporting his thoughts, like, so rather than saying, "What the F?" Like, you can show, rather than tell me he's thinking what the F, you can show me his action of what the F, which is like, he pulls his shirt open, he's like, "Oh my God, what happened to my neck?" Like, that's what I think you will really want to work on in this next draft, is saying, okay, how can I take some of those lines of interiority and use them to add an extra layer to the action, an extra step in the action? So that'll be really helpful, I think, just in terms of seeing kind of some of the strengths in your writing. You have a real skill for articulating problems in writing, for towards the interior, yes. And that's a lot. It's so funny because you'll see really two branches of younger, or not younger, but like writers who are, they kind of, I trend towards the opposite. I trend towards a very visual approach, which is something I've had to work on to move myself back to more interior. So most writers will fall on one of these two camps, and it's pretty early. You can identify it usually pretty quick, where you're like, oh, this is a person who's going straight for the interior. And then it's just encouraging that writer, hey, like, remember, you're trying to draw a scene, you're trying to show the scene, and trying to keep that interiority telling to a minimum. And that's why questions in interiority are good, because it's not necessarily, it's showing the thought versus saying, I think this is happening. What other approaches would you say on the visual approaches there? Interior thoughts. You'll see a lot of, it really depends so much on the writer. You'll see a lot of, if a writer uses a narrator, that's another tricky, I mean, there's a lot of aspects, right? So this is first person. So because this is first person, there's fewer options, right? So it actually is a good thing for beginning writers to start in a first person story, or do a close third person, which means it's a third person camera that only follows, what, like Harry Potter, only really follows Harry's thoughts and Harry's actions, right? We don't really see anything that happens outside of Harry, except for those little opening chapters that J.K. throws in occasionally. So one thing that you'll see is a lot of writers will attempt third person omniscient, which is extremely difficult to pull off. Or a third person close will become an omniscient narrator, where it'll jump to other heads, where it'll report, Harry Potter's thoughts, and then it will say what Ron thought, where we really shouldn't, because we're supposed to restrict ourselves in that POV. So in terms of other issues that you see a lot in writers who are learning kind of their own voice and saying, okay, what are my strengths and weaknesses? That's one of them, is point of view will be a really big challenge. Understanding what point of view, and thankfully it's a really easy and attainable thing to overcome. And that's why people tell you to read a lot, is because you maybe have to read thinking and saying, okay, I'm going to go read Harry Potter, and I'm going to highlight all the times that we report action. I'm going to make all the action lines yellow. I'm going to, dialogue, it's going to be dialogue. I'm going to make all the thought moments blue. I'm going to make all the narrator moments, because JK is in third person, so there's another voice. And I think a lot of what writing comes down to is managing the voices. There's the voice of the narrator. So if you read Lord of the Rings, there's Tolkien talking. And the Lord of the Rings has that extremely distinctive voice, where he's like the redactor, the person who's taken all this information about Middle-earth and is telling you a story. And it actually comes from Tolkien's voice. It's managing how often should that voice come in versus the character's voice in thought versus the action through the narrator's voice, but that's a little bit more tactical, versus the dialogue, which is the other character's voice, versus, the interior thoughts. I think I might have already mentioned that, but that is I think one of the biggest hurdles. And you'll see people, or versus scene description. Scene description is another kind of separate voice in the novel that normally is in the narrator realm, though. So I think that is really where a lot of writers have to take that extra bit of time, and I still do it. I still go through and highlight books. So yeah, I think that is something to really think about. Is a novel contains a lot of simultaneous voices talking. Which one comes where, and what order, and how often, and how much? I'm a little bit behind. Hold on. Using a narrator is probably it's easier and a crutch. What do you think about ending chapters into different narrators? Yeah, so I think that is a very commonly used technique and a very effective one, where you have a loyal close third, which is a close third that only stays and only gives you access to one character's thoughts. So it's a direct close third person, and then it starts. So that's like a Game of Thrones, where each chapter shifts the close third person. So yeah, the way to think about that is you're really getting two different kind of stories from two different perspectives. But within those chapters, they follow the rule of close third, which is you don't jump into another character's POV, point of view, i.e. thoughts or senses. Like I can't say it felt, Ron touched the stove, it felt hot. Like Harry, because we're coming at it through Harry's perspective, doesn't know what Ron's sensory experience is. So that sensory experience always has to stay with the point of view character. So yeah, the point of view is who you experience the senses through in the story. You've been away for a long time when Final Boss's beard is gone. That's true. Welcome, Nightingale. Long time no see, indeed. How's it going? Hopefully things are good, and hopefully you've been busy for good reasons, and I totally understand. What's up, Hannibal Grimm? How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Just talking about POV, and the proper word for it is, for all the voices in a novel, or one of the proper words that you'll hear people describe it is polyphony, or polyphony. Lots of voices. So yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about. Insomnia. Oh no, dude. I was, Grover was on a little while ago, and he has the exact same thing. I'm so sorry. I have insomnia myself sometimes, and it sucks, Hannibal. So welcome for one, but two, I wish you could join us on better terms, because I know how hard that is. But hang in there, and hopefully this is there's no, fast action video games, in an editing stream. It's a little slower paced, and, I can talk in a nice Bob Ross voice, and hopefully that'll lull you to sleep. I'm going to top off my water, though, so I'll be right back. Thank you for the follow. I heard a follow. Pop Saga, welcome. How goes it? Yep, exams, writing, vacations. Oh, I've been around the block. Well, welcome back. Hopefully this is summer vacation, which is always a fun occasion. So, welcome, welcome. Chomp, chomp. The last thing I was reading was the E.M. Chorn's Trouble with Being Born. Ooh, that sounds like a cool book. Depressing as hell, makes you just want to go outside and breathe and do some stuff, yeah. Not even I can feel that depressing moment. Game of Thrones takes an interesting approach to POV, where it changes POV every chapter, but finds just clever ways to segue between those POVs. Yes, that's true. I mean, but, man, I would really encourage early writers to, if you're going to use that, which is a very common approach, especially in fantasy, larger tone, like, fantasy, sci-fi books that tend to run towards the longer side, will have more point of view characters usually, because you're trying to get deep into a character psyche. I would really not go over 3, but for a first book, especially if people are on their first book or in short stories, just get really good with writing one POV. It would be my encouragement to writers. Write a lot of short stories because you can iterate, you can get something to a final draft a lot faster, and you can really practice that POV in a more controlled environment. And if something's not working, you just throw it out and start again. Like, he has accepted depression through his nihilism in his book. Woof, that sounds tough. Man, it happens, and I have no responsibilities. Well, yay! I always encourage those to try out melatonin, but in any case, I'm going to keep editing because I definitely want to, this is a good story, so I want to keep going. We exchange pleasantries through the usual questions. I confirm myself as the caller. I led him across the street to the apartment. I didn't notice the brief exchange. I did notice his eyes were drawn on my neck, but I was glad he didn't press the issue. Greater problems. So this is another thing. So, and this is how I think you know that you're a little bit of a writer that skews toward interiority. Like, and it's sort of like what was happening in even Cyber's screenplay that we read earlier, where you're reporting something a few steps removed, right? Like, you're reporting that officer noticing his thoughts through him noticing. So think about the base clause of this sentence is I notice, right? But the actual action of the sentence is not in the base clause. The action of the sentence is his eyes were drawn to my neck. So in terms of sentence structure, that dilutes some of the impact of your sentence. Like I think the way to write this might add a little bit more sentence level. You can get us out of his head. He questioned me about where I lived, what I did for work, and I went through the actions. His eyes drifted to my neck every few minutes. They didn't bring it up. Whatever. So just, that's like a bad example of, obviously written completely on the fly, but that's something I would really, really consider is what is the action, where is the clause that holds the action of your sentence, and where is the base clause? And if those two are different, you have to have a really good reason for it. And sometimes there is a reason. There is reasoning to do that. Some writers will say, I want to delay the punch of the sentence. So they will have, a left branching sentence where there's a lot of stuff happening. Like, the best example, or it's like a short one where it's the left branch where it's like, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. That's the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit opening. But like, there lived a hobbit is the base clause, but he's delaying that punch line by left branching the sentence, by adding another clause before it, before that main subject verb. So just remember that unless you're Tolkien or you have a really good reason to do that, try to keep the clause where the action of your sentence is happening and the base clause as close together as often as you can. Do you know if they were armed? I haven't seen them. I woke up and heard scratching in my bathroom. Getting out to call is all you've gotten done since. Check the handle. Thankfully, it was still locked. And the keys and step, I do agree with this. Yes, agree. Agree. And the keys and stepped back, watching from behind the stairs. He reached to his belt and unholstered a short pistol, knocking with a clear, loud pattern. Please. Yeah, I'm a little confused about his thoughts. So like, I don't think that hobbits again. That exterminator lied. I wanted all those little hobbitses, those filthy hobbitses, removed. Yeah. Was dedicated in their efforts to scare me? Does he really think they're there to scare him anymore? The bathroom. We probably don't need to chop the action with interiority. Just describe the scene at this point. So yeah, one thing that you'll hear a lot with in writing feedback is when you're in a good scene, and this scene is moving along well, like there's stuff happening. Uh, it's very rare to jump into interiority. Like, like here, like we could probably cut a lot of this interiority without great detriment. Like it'll probably, you know. So yeah, because all this like, man, it's at my expense, la 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 la, all this thought, it's just distracting from the action at this point. So I think this is the point where you want to say, hey, look, I just need to focus on what's going on. And then spoke up again. Show me some tactical details. We're only getting the description. So maybe the cop, you know. Yeah, and one thing that you will see a lot in modern writing, and I think it's a really great thing, is you don't necessarily need dialogue tags. You can do a little trick like this and just have the preceding sentence or the following sentence of a section of dialogue just have action. And you don't need to say he said or she said. Like, you could just say, Dan took a swing at the punching bag. I hate this job. Like, I don't need to know that. You don't have to say Dan took a swing at the punching bag and said, I hate this job. You can just say Dan took a swing at the punching bag, period. I take this job. Do you focus on continuity errors a lot? Like, do you take notes as long as you go through with long edits? I do. So this is a free edit. So my paid edits are way more detailed. But pretty much my goal here is more to help the writer. I think and then that's why with the free edits I only do like 5 or 10 pages depending on how many words per page there are. Because most of the time you'll see, like, if there's one issue, like, hey, I'm in interiority a little bit too much. I need to start bringing myself into the scene. I need to start describing sensory details. What's the smell? What are the sounds that are going on? What are the tactile feelings of things? Like, bringing more into the senses. So, like, usually if that is happening on page 1 or page 10, it's going to be happening throughout the novel. So, yeah, but if it is actually like a real novel, if it was a real edit, I'd be looking for continuity. I'd be looking for, okay, well, why is it this instead of that? But then also try to give some development edits. And, I think right now I'm not focusing too much on the plot. And I can go into that a little bit, but it's tough to know, especially with a novel, because the plot unfolds a lot slower than a screenplay. My biggest worry with the story overall is that the hero doesn't really have a goal except survival, which is always a workable goal, but it doesn't seem to have much urgency. And maybe that's something I was going to talk about in my overall notes, but I'm on page 7 already, and these are really tightly packed, so I'm already going a little bit longer than I normally do. I got shit to do tomorrow. Oh no! I'm gonna just write it in now, just before I forget. You know, bigger note, you know, whatever. What is the is only fighting for survival? We don't really, then it's harder to get to know him because he didn't choose, you know, this goal. Also, the urgency of his survival is a bit light. He's able to leave his apartment unharassed. Why wasn't there more of a danger or something still coming for him through the streets? Yeah, I'm also beginning to ask, why hasn't he asked any questions? Also, why hasn't the hero, you know, the MC, started to wonder more about his neck? Seems to dismiss it as something the bad people, you know, person did, but doesn't, you know, but if it is, you know, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be life-threatening. Oh, sorry, I'm a little bit behind on chat. I'm getting back to it here. Okay. Well, don't. I've tried this on the last one for 11 hours. Nice. Well, hopefully that helps. Got shit to do tomorrow. Hobbits again, the Germinator. Yes. Okay. I give up to the answer on that riddle. All right. Comcast. I hate you. It's just so crappy. They suck. Will I return? Man, I hate Comcast more than anything. Right. Oh gosh. Saved. All right, I'm gonna do one more page. I normally only do 10 double-spaced pages, but I'm gonna do 7 or so single-spaced pages. So you're welcome. So yeah, my last note was, why hasn't the main character started to wonder about his neck? Just because he attributes it to the person in his bathroom, which doesn't seem to make sense because that person was locked in there. But how did the person in his bathroom wound him? I live in California, the West Coast. How the person... All right. You should go stream snipe Ice Poseidon then someday. What's that? Stream snipe Ice Poseidon. I don't know what that means, but yes. All the things. Okay, I'm coming in. The terrorists drowned out the scratching, then the bone-chilling sounds of a scream of unbridled terror and a low gurgling, then gunfire. 2 shots. his gun, so the cop dies. But mine acted without delay. Smell. Oops. So I think you're doing a great thing here, writer, because the policeman goes into an out of view room, and then you rely on the other senses to tell the story. You rely on sound. You rely on and you rely on sound mostly because that's all we're getting. Then gunfire, 2 shots, a scream. But remember, it's such a powerful tool for the writer to take out a sense, like so he can't see what's going on. So it's cool that you don't have sight. But remember, there's not just sound. There is smell. There is touch. Did the room suddenly get colder once the door opened because there's the presence of this spirit? Remember, all 5 senses, all 5 senses. And I think that's a note throughout this story is, in this whole story, look to bring in more senses than just sight and sound. I think we've only gotten sight and sound so far. I don't even know if I've found any of the other ones, so bring those other ones in. As I hit the bottom of the steps. Interesting. If you live near Hollywood, stream site means go meet him. Oh. He's a person that used to stream on Twitch, but he's an IRL streamer on YouTube, and he would say he's a real king of IRL. He started the whole IRL thing to begin with because he was exploiting Pokemon Go streams to go out. But barely thinking most talking to people and BSing. That's how he got major traction anyway. Interesting. I like that. That's a cool idea. I loved Pokemon Go, but it was very hard to stream, I feel like. How would you stream Pokemon Go? I mean, my phone certainly can't stream, I don't think. Maybe he just had it on Periscope or something, but who knows. Anyways, I digress. I do declare get a little distracted from time to time. Alright. Eventually now he's a Pterodec. He's a phone and a tablet, lol, 2 phones. Oh, I see. So weird. It's called a Pterodec? Interesting. Man, technology. Well, I love playing games like Ingress and Pokemon Go, so if any of y'all want to show me how to do that, let me know. That seems very complicated, though. I floored it in reverse, gripped my hand on the wheel, my muscles worked against me. I turned a short corner, exit just ahead. To my side, I heard scratching on my door. I would say no bold. Unbold, yes. I'm not a big fan of bolding. Probably let out a horrified cry. So yeah, you're already you're already showing this through the action. So describing the thought feels like verbal doubling. Two phones the way to go. Selfie stick. Most people use SLR cameras. If you do the IRL streams, you need a F10 of battery banks in order to keep your stuff changed. Yeah, well, I use a DSLR. Maybe I'll do. But IRL, just talking to the camera feels lame. I feel like you got to do something. Maybe I'm weird. I have to do something. I feel like I need to produce something. Every other sentence. I know it's just a risk. It's sort of like the show don't tell. Like let the prose speak for itself. Whenever you're bolding or you're, in your screenplay you make them all caps or whatever. It's okay. But save it for the really big moments. Because we have another bold moment down here. So it starts to it loses its potency really fast. And in prose, it's a little bit different where you can't just do that much stuff. Sales business drift from 18K viewers. Well, I think that's fine. I totally respect the people who are, doing IRL streams. And I think that's fantastic. And I'm sure, they love it and they just love connecting with the community, which I think is awesome. But yeah, like I would have to do an AMA, like an ask me any writing question, or something. Yeah, it would be tough otherwise. I feel like I am too, like me personally, because for me, I'm so work oriented where I have to be working on something a lot. So it would probably just drive my own personal brain loco. Some time passed. I traveled a fair distance away from the apartment. I just finished passing through major streets, violating traffic laws, running lights. I escaped into country roads. I felt strangely safe. How? Describe what gets him to this conclusion. Give me sensory where I can come to the conclusion that he'd prob feel, that horrible sense of coldness finally vanished. I'd felt, that felt since leaving the bathroom finally vanished. Crickets were chirping. Crickets chirped outside of my car. Breeze blew the tall, stalks of corn nearby, and the air smelled like fresh tilled earth. And let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. So that's like a way to show, and obviously showing is a little bit longer. How do you find out the answers to these riddles? Why doesn't a mountain covered with snow catch cold? Well, the secret answer is you Google them, but I think it's because it's blanketed, right? I think it's blanketed. Because it has a snow cap. Yeah, I think it's a snow cap. I think you're right. Snow cap, correct. Literally doing like filming, answering questions, and being Maybe you could film events like poetry readings and stuff. That would definitely rake in viewers. Stream them, I mean. Yeah, I think I do want to do that because we have a lot of because I go to all my fellow Master of Fine Arts students love they're all poets, they all go to readings, and I definitely want to start working and bringing more stuff in. I also one of the things that I love doing that I've done with friends before but never on stream, which I've been thinking about, is a thing called I call it high tea, where pretty much I pick out some of my favorite short stories and I read them aloud. And yeah, so yeah, I should do that. Yeah, because it's too bad that they can't get more exposure. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe I'll start bringing the camera to, because I have a sick DSLR that I just never use for this stuff. So sadly. But yes, I will do that. That's gonna put that on my list. Cat dog! Oh my gosh, you're coming right at the tail end of the stream, right as final boss is getting ready for Betty Bye. Yeah. When you get tired, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, well, because I just have, like, I can show you guys my bookshelf. It's packed full of stuff. And, but yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. We've done our D&D game on here. We've done all the things. I know, Cat Dog, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna get to the end of this page here, actually, and then that's that. I took my shivering hands off the wheel and sat back breathless. My arms swung loose as energy departed my body in a flash. Adrenaline was one hell of a drug. This is a funny phrasing. This feels like a bit of flippant phrasing for someone who has been terrified for the last few minutes. Have you seen Cobra Kai yet? Bible Trump? Bible Thump. Bible Thump. I have not. I've heard it's really good, and I love movies where the antagonist is kind of the lead character. Keep up the stream in the style. It was lots of fun. I'll duck out and let you do your thing. Take care, Bolognus. Hopefully see you again soon, and have a wonderful evening. Plus, I want to watch Westworld. Yeah, it's the new episode. Ah! Anyways, I think that actually might be it for me. Getting pretty close. I felt compelled to go out and scour the roads at the sight of anything that might have followed me. Dark as I was sure I wasn't alone. So I'm going to do a quick overall recap. And I know I talked about some of this stuff already, but I'm going to write it in anyways. Overall, I'd say the good. I think the story setup is going well. It's going well. It's moving forward and has action. I like the mystery of what's going on with the character's messed up neck. This stuff to improve, I would say bring in the senses, sight, smell, senses. I want to start with the ones I'm missing the most. Touch, smell. I think this can be so powerful. Those sensory details, because we humans experience the world through our senses, not just our thoughts. So by describing senses in your story more, I, the reader, will experience it in a more tactile way. I will start to imagine sensing those things in the same way. It'll bring me deeper into the story. So swing out of some of that extra interiority. A little bit too much interiority at times. Try to especially not interrupt action scenes with thoughts. And then I think the other stuff is probably a little bit more, I consider creating more urgency in the first section. For example, once he leaves his apartment with the door locked, he's pretty much safe and can take all the time he needs. Makes me wonder, maybe he should just move. Just move and trap the monster in the room forever. Monster who can't open doors in the room forever. Yeah, so those are some things I'd ask about. What's my other notes? The sense for detail was big. I'd just say consider giving the hero a goal outside of the moment by moment action. Even outside of this, situation, does he want anything? Yeah, so those are some of the overall comments. Overall, great work. Great job with your story. And thank you. I think this was Sayaka, I think. Thank you for the sub, because one of our kind subs. And thank you for the sub as well, Cyberjackalope. That was very, very kind. And hooray, we finally have done an edit. It's been a minute. It's been a long minute. But take care, everybody. Have a great evening, and see you all again soon.